Many blessings, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. My name is James. I am currently burning a little Palo Santo to kind of shift the mood. If I look a little busted or if I'm all over the place, it's because I just worked a 12-hour shift and I have not slept yet because I work overnights. So, I am a little tired, but that is okay. I am dedicated to the game. All right? All right. Okay, so today's video is going to be a story time. See, I'm already hyped up. It's so funny. All right, today's video is going to be a story time. And what I wanted to talk to you guys about, you guys, gals, and non-binary folk, what I wanted to talk to everyone about today was my experience currently on the path of an Aborisha. And we're going to talk about what that title means. And maybe we'll also talk about, some of the other titles that I have had in Ocha. And where I would like to go in Ocha. So, I'm doing the story time in my bedroom because my phone was almost dead. So, that is what all of this background is. All right, cool. So, let's just go ahead and get started. So, I was actually a senior in high school, so this was 2011, when I first heard the term or word Orisha. I had met a friend that lived in Miami, Florida, and he is Cuban, I believe. I could be mistaken. Don't quote me on that. Anyways, point being, he was familiar with it because of where he lived and because of his cultural heritage and because of his background. And us being friends, he just started kind of like sharing with me some of the knowledge that he had been gaining, like the appropriate steps, if you will. And obviously, like, he had much more access in Miami, Florida, to many people that practice Lukumi, that practice Orisha worship than I did in Texas. So here I am in college. I am a freshman in college. And I remember, like, there was this one particular shop that I enjoyed going to in South Austin. And I would go there and I would buy herbs and I would buy candles and I would buy all of my, like little stuff, for all of my witchcrafting and all of that good stuff. So I had gone in there one day and I had asked the shop owner, I was like, hey, the shop is called Ancient Mysteries. I no longer live in Texas, but I'm fairly certain it is still there in Southeast Texas. The lady that owns that shop is so nice. So nice. She definitely helped me in so many ways. So I am very grateful for her. So basically, I went in there and I was like, hey, do you guys have any books on Orisha? Do you know any people, any senderos, any senderas, any lochas, any babalochas, etc., that practice the religion that I could, like, get in contact with and get things going, right? Okay, so I'm not gonna really go into much about, like, why I chose to pursue a spiritual path with Orisha, even though it is not, like, directly in my, like, culture, if you will. I'm not going to go into that because it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, right? Okay, so I had all of my divinations done. The Orisha accepted me. My head was marked. All of these, like, fantastic things. So that's all I needed. That is all I personally needed to proceed, was acceptance by the Orisha. And I feel like that's what, any person needs. We go searching for authority from human beings, but what we're dealing with here, people, is not human beings. It is living gods that can speak. So when you have a question, ask. It's very simple. So you can't do that for yourself, obviously, as an uninitiated person or an uncrowned person, but you have to find godparents. So that leads me to my next point. So I'd asked these ladies if they knew any, practicing people that they trusted or knew or whatever. And they pointed me to someone, and I went to them for a few weeks, and I had a reading done, and that was actually my first reading ever. And it did not work out with that person. So when that relationship did not happen, that godparent, godchild relationship, when that did not happen the way that I anticipated it, I was like, okay, well, let's regroup, let's, refigure ourselves, and let's see what we can do and who, I might be able to meet that can really guide me in the direction that I wanted to go, that I want to go. I say wanted because at that time I was an Aleyo, which means like I was an uninitiated person. I had no initiatory ties to Lukumi. I had no ties to Orisha, but I definitely felt Orisha. And I was definitely beginning at that particular point. This would have been like 2012. I had already begun, not in any like official capacity, but speaking to Orisha and praying and asking them to come into my life and asking them to bring me the appropriate teacher that was going to teach me how, the manner by which to do all of my things, to become a person, a crowned person that has all of their Orisha, their fundamental Orisha. So how, I was going to get from point A to point B, an Aleyo to an Iworo, or a crowned individual, someone that has had their Orisha like put on their head. So I went to the river. Oshun is the Orisha that has taken my head. Oshun is amazing, just awesome. So even in 2011, I bowed myself before the Ache of Ochun of Yilode. And I went to her river, and I went to the physical place where Ochun manifests, to the river, to the sweet waters. And I went, and I had taken a bell, and I had taken offerings of incense and flowers and honey. And I stood by the riverbank, and I prayed to Ochun, and I prayed to her in English. This is me as an Aleyo, knowing absolutely nothing. So, but I spoke to her from the heart, and I think that's what is important always. Always, always, always. And so I told her, like, I am aware that, having a godparent, having an elder, having a teacher to guide you is the appropriate manner by which, like, I need to traverse your waters. So I'm asking you to bless me with the teacher that you want to come into my life and to give me like all of these things that I need. I need that person, and I want to make sure that it's the right person. So, help me, Ochun, find this person. And boy, did she. Okay, so after that, after I had gone to the river, after I had done my offerings, after I had spoken to the sweet mother, and kind of just like laid to her what was on my heart, I started doing some research, and I had found a few botanicas, which are like spiritual shops in San Antonio. So there was like 6, I want to say, something like that I was like picking from, that I was like trying to choose from or whatever. And one of them, like after I had gotten off work, one of them really, because I lived in San Marcos, so it was like a 45-minute drive from San Antonio, about a 30-minute drive from like downtown Austin. So I was like right there in the middle, So I had a list, and one botanica stood out to me because it was called Botanica La Caridad. And if you know anything about Santeria, the saints were syncretized or mixed, tied to the mask of the saint was put on the Orisha in order for the people to continue practicing. So Santeria came from that, and like often in Santeria you'll see like the Orisha and you'll see saints and you'll see many, 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 many things. I personally don't really, how do I phrase this? I prefer just calling Alegua, Alegua, Ochun, Ochun, Yamaya, Yamaya, Oya, Oya, Obatala, Obatala. Okay, so I don't really call Ochun La Caridad del Cobre. I don't pray to La Caridad del Cobre. I do have a statue of her. But yeah, so I just, kind of stick my stuff to it or whatever. But this shop was called Botánica La Caridad del Cobre, and that is Ochun's saint that she is syncretized with as Our Lady of Charity. So I was like, all right, let me go here first. Let me check this one out first. What is this shop about? So I remember getting there, and I had parked in the back, but the door was closed in the back. So I like walked around the little plaza where my godfather's shop was at the time. And I like walked around to the front. And my feri fun ochun, my feri fun iyansan. So as I walked through the front door, I instantly, saw like a lot of clients, a lot of people that were all gathered there. And, everybody was like together. There were just like a lot of people in the shop that day. And as I opened up the door slipped out of my hand and the wind pulled it and it just like slammed closed. And it slammed so hard that all of the glass windows in the front of the shop just like vibrated, and like everybody like turned and like looked at me, and I was just like, oh, hey, what's up? Like, I'm here, like, don't mind me. This is super awkward. Like, I have made an entrance. All right, great. Definitely like one of those. So my godfather was in and out of his office all day that particular day, and I stayed there for hours and hours and hours and hours because I wanted to speak with him, so I was like, all right, let me just like wait around, let me just wait for him to kind of finish up, for people to kind of like disperse, so that way we can have like a one-on-one and I can really like tell him like what I'm looking for, and I can see like what he's looking for in a godchild, and like we can go from there accordingly. So that was David Herrera, my godfather, that gave me Aleques and Warriors. So I was with David for many, many years. I'm still with David to this day, just not as the person that will crown me completely. And there are many, many reasons as to why that kind of came about, and none of them are negative. And none of them I will go into right now because it's not really pertinent to the story. Because I love my godfather. And he opened the way for me, and he gave me my first Orishas. And that was like a life-changing experience. And so he will always, 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 always be one of my spiritual elders. So, absolutely, hands down, period. Done. So, basically, that was, I want to say, in like, we'll say 2013, 2014, okay? So after the first experience that I had, which wasn't a particularly like great one, I mean, it wasn't bad, it was just like, it was what it was, like I went looking for something very specific, and that was not the something specific that I found. So, you move on. All right, cool. So that particular priest was very honest with me, and I will always like commend him for that, because he did everything that was appropriate at that particular moment, and like we parted ways. So then, done. So, it took me like a year and a half, something like that, to really like warm up to David, to my godfather that gave me Alekes and Warriors, it wasn't because he was like sketchy, and it wasn't because of anything like that. It was just like I was very guarded, like I wanted to make sure that I was taking the right step with a person that really had a similar style, or like not a similar style because I have no style because I'm not a crowned person. As I have worked with Orisha more, there are certain understandings about Orisha that I myself have internalized for myself. And David's understanding of Orisha, David's interpretation of certain things and how he worked his Orisha and how he worked his spirits and all of that other stuff, how he was as a spiritual worker, I definitely was like, okay, this is the man, this is it, this is the priest, this is him. We are all on board. Let us proceed. So it took me like a year and a half or so to get to that point. But so I saved up my ashadi. I gave my godfather, I proceeded with all of the initial things that one must do when they want to join an Ile. I did all of the things that one must do when they want to receive Alekes and Warriors. Those were the first two things that I received. That's the first two things that most people receive. But I just received Alekes and Warriors at one time. I remember my Aleke ceremony because this was like in March of 2015. I remember like it was yesterday. I got very, very emotional. I have never been baptized in a church or anything like that. I never really have felt the need to, honestly. The opportunity has been presented many times, but I've never pursued it. I never really felt like, it was a devotion, an act of devotion that I was willing to make at that particular point. So it's never happened. So when I received my Alekes, that was my baptism. It was my baptism to Orisha. It was my baptism to this path. It was the first and a very sincere act of devotion, as it should be. Because as an outsider, as an Aleyo, you're not necessarily 100% aware of like what you're getting yourself into. You know what I'm saying? Like you may have a little idea, or you may like, if you're lucky and you're around, a lot of this stuff, or you have people that practice around you, then like that is awesome. Then you go in with a very good understanding of what all of this like is. But at that particular time, like I didn't know everything, and to this day I still do not know everything. And I will never know everything. And that's the beauty of it. You know what I'm saying? But I knew enough to feel comfortable proceeding with my initiation, and that is what was important to me. So we did my Aleke ceremony. I want to say it was like, I did my Alekes, and then it was probably like 2 or 3 months, and I had already saved up like the ashadi for my Warriors. So I did them as separate things because at that particular moment, I was in college full time. I was working full time. So, my attention was like all over the place all of the time. And I was like constantly trying to do like so many things, like with school, with religion, with spirituality, with stuff with my godfather, my spiritual stuff. I was just like, I was all over the place. I was doing a lot of stuff. So it took me a few months to save up the ashadi for my Warriors, but I got it together pretty quickly. And so yeah, so I went. I spent like, I want to say it was like 3 days or so with my godfather there at his house. I was dressed all in white. I was doing my thing. I was living my best life. I was living for it. All of it, living for it. I received my Warriors, and that is like to this day the Warriors that I have, even though that my godfather that is going to crown me is not the godfather that gave me Alekes and Warriors. Both of them know each other. Both of them are, what is the word I'm looking for? Both of them know each other. Both of them are comfortable with each other. And both of them recognize the ache that sits on the other's head. If that makes sense. If you understand what I'm saying, you understand what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? Cool. So my godfather never, my godfather that is going to crown me, accepted my warriors as a legitimate initiation into Lukumi. So I never went through that ceremony again. It's always been the one ceremony, and that's been it. None of my Elekes have ever been dismissed. None of my Orishas have ever been dismissed. So we're moving forward. Fast forward. You have me last year at 2018, the beginning of 2018. So obviously, when I brought my plate, my coconut, and my 2 coconuts and my 2 candles and my ashedi to my godfather's house, Ayagbate and me, which is the godfather that is going to initiate me as an Olocha, as a priest of Ochun. He is crowned to Oya, which is just fierce and wonderful, hands down, absolutely. When I brought all of that stuff to him, the next Orisha that I wanted to receive, the next Orisha that was marked for me to receive, the Orisha that has been marked for me to receive for many years that I was not able to receive for, I want to say it was like 3 years, was Olokun. That was my next step. But all of this time, I had my warriors. I was doing my stuff with my warriors, like Maferi Funa Legua. Every day that my feet walk this earth, every day that my lungs have air in my breath, will I pay homage to homage. I said homage. Homage. Will I pay homage to Elegua? Elegua is such an important Orisha to me. He's an important Orisha to everyone, every Lukumiso. But I have a deep, deep love and deep respect for Elegua. So, all of that time, I had my warriors. I was doing my things with my warriors. I was talking to them. I was doing my abolsis. I was doing my stuff. You know what I'm saying? I was doing my stuff. And so I went to my godfather and I was like, hey, look. Okay, so wait. Let me pause. We're at a Lokun. I'm at 22 minutes. I'm making little reminders for myself because I am tired, so I'm super tangential right now. I'm at 22 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and stop this video. And there will definitely be a part 2. So I shall be right back.